Okay, so for the next part, we are talking about list and string indexing and slicing, and we're going to use loops, conditionals, and functions in this part. So let us look at the first question. So we have a string called S, which is the string hawks with capital H, and we're doing a while loop. So while the length of S is greater than 0, so while S is not just an empty string, we are printing S, and then we're assigning S to be this slice. So this slice is going to start from the index 1 character of S, and it's going to go to the end. So if there's no number after the colon, it starts at the first number here, and then it just goes to the end. All right. So let's think about what this is going to do. All right. So length of S starts off as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we start off here with, yes, 5 is greater than 0. That's true. And then we're going to print the entirety of S, so hawks. All right, so that's the first thing it's going to print. Maybe I won't put that on this line here. Maybe I'll just put it down here to save myself a little bit of time. Okay, and then S is going to be assigned to be everything in the string S starting from character index 1 to the end. So it's going to be the A, W, K, and S. All right, so A, W, K, S. That is the new value for S. All right, and then we come back to the top of the loop and we check if it's still true. Is it still true that the length of S is greater than 0? So now the length is 4, but that is still greater than 0. So we keep going. We're going to print off what S currently is, which is going to be hawks. And then we're going to assign S to now be everything in S starting from character index 1. Remember, the first character is index 0. So when we start with character index 1, it's actually the second character. And then to the end. So it's going to become wooks. All right, and then we come back to the top, check if the condition is still true. So length of S is now 3, and that is greater than 0. So we keep going. We're going to print the current value of S, so wooks. And then S is now going to become, we're just going to keep going following this pattern, starting with character index 1, so KS this time. Come back to the top, length of S is 2, which is still greater than 0. Okay, we're going to print out current value of S, which is KS. And we assign S to become, so now the character index 1 is this very last character, so just S. Okay, come back to the top, length of S is still greater than 0, it's 1. So we're going to go ahead and print out S. Now it's just literally the character S. And now for the last thing here, we are assigning S to become everything starting from character index 1 to the end. But since there is nothing there at character index 1, there is no character index 1, S is just going to become an empty string. So slices are pretty forgiving in terms of asking for a slice that doesn't exist. You'll just get an empty string if it's impossible. If you were to try to index, like do this type of thing, S bracket 1, you would actually get an error. But slices are pretty forgiving. Okay, let's make sure this is really what prints. Yep. So it's like hawks, 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 like an echo. All right, anyway. So river hawks. G of S. So we have a function here. This function is a little bit mysterious, so let's look at it carefully. So what it returns is, so already you see we're indexing, so this looks like we're working with strings, and we are going to be working with strings down here. So it looks like we're taking the last character of S. So this is going to be last character of S, and then we are concatenating it or gluing it with, so what this does is, again, when there's no number in front of your colon, it just starts with the very first character of S. So first character of S to, and then where does it stop at? So this -1 index is the last character of S. But remember, you always stop right before that second number, okay? So if we're stopping right before the last character, then we're taking everything from the first character to the second to last character of S. Okay, so what this is doing, you're gluing together a string where it starts with the last character of S, and then it's everything from the first character of S to the second to last character of S. So basically taking the last character and gluing it on to the front of that string is what's happening. Okay, so let's go ahead and go through this and see what it looks like. So S is hello, And then we are doing a for loop. So I is going to go through range len s. So be a little bit careful here what the values of I are going to be. So I will go from, it always starts at 0 if you only put one number in the range. Okay, so it's going to start at 0 and then 1, 2, etc. And then it's going to stop right before len of s. So the length of s is 5. So this is going to go to 3 and then 4 and then stop. Okay, so what's going to happen, I is going to start off, maybe I'll put this line up here just for like my future reference. I is going to start at 0. Okay, and we're going to print s. So down here, let me put things that we'll print. So first we're printing off just original value of s, which is hello. All right, and then s is going to become g of s. So what does s become? So here we're being passed s for our argument, and we're returning a string that consists of the last character of s. So that's going to be O. And then everything from the first character of s to right before the last character of s. So it's going to be HELO, like that. So that is going to be the new value of s. Okay, oh hell. All right, and then we're going to repeat by going up to the top of the loop again. We take the next value for I is going to be 1. We're going to print out current value of s, so it's oh hell. And then s is going to again become g of s. So now we're passing oh hell up here for for s in this function. And we're going to do the same thing as what we did before. We take the last character, we start with that. Okay, so now it's an L. And then we're just taking everything from the beginning to right before the last character. So, oh hell. So now it's low hell. We went from oh hell to low hell. I guess that's an improvement. Then we go back to the top of this loop here. Okay, and I becomes the next number, which is 2. We're printing out current value of s, so low hell. All right. And now the new value for s, same way as before, we're passing this string to the g function, and g is going to return the last character, which again is an L, and then everything from the first character to right before the end, so low hey. All right, so now we got low hey. So we're finally out of hell, that's good. I did not think when I was writing this question about how many times I was going to have to say hell. All right, and now we come back to the top of the loop. I is going to become 3. Print out the current version. Oh, I jumped the gun and already put the print version of s here. And now we're finding the next value for s using the function again. So we're taking the last character, this time it's an E, and we're doing everything from the beginning to right before the end. So low, elo. All right. And then, oh, I'm sorry, let me not jump the gun again because Python the code here doesn't tell me to print at this point. Now I come back up to the top of the loop. And I have I is going to become number 4. And now I'm printing out that value for s, so hello. Hello. And then the very last thing is I'm making s. I am calling this one more time, even though it's not going to print. S is going to become last character, H, and then first 4 characters. Okay, so s does become hello again after this loop, but that part does not get printed out because at this point the loop is over. I've gone through all of the values in the range. Let's make sure this prints out correctly. Yep, there it is. It's a little twisty word thingy there. All right, let's look at the next one, the last one. So we have a function called h of s. It looks like we're going to be plugging a string into it. So inside of this function, what we're doing is n is going to be going through starting from 0 and up to 1 less than the length of s. Okay, so n is going to go from 0, 1, 2, and then 1 less than length of s. Okay. And then what's going to happen inside of here is we're going to print, this is a little bit complicated, so we're going to print dot times n. So in other words, we print a period. So this print command only has one thing in it. So basically you have to figure out what this big long string is here, and then that's just going to print out on its own line. Okay, so first we have a dot times n. So we're repeating a period n times, whatever n is. And then we're doing plus, so that's concatenation. So we're going to glue that to the n index character of S. So whatever is at index n of S. Okay, and then we're doing another plus, so we're gluing again. Then we're going to have more periods. We're going to have as many more periods as whatever len of S minus n is. So it's basically like a bunch of periods, and then one letter, and then a bunch more periods, is what that's going to end up looking like. But let's see what it actually concretely is when we plug in Haya. Okay, so S is going to become Haya. All right, and then n is going to start off at 0. Okay, so now let's see, what is this print? What is this big string here going to be? So we're doing n copies of period. So we're going to start off with no copies of the period. If you just do period times 0, you get an empty string. Okay, so it's empty string plus 0 index character from S. So the 0 index character from S is the first character. That's H. All right, so that's the next thing that we're gluing together. Maybe I won't leave the pluses in. I'll just do it as like one string. Okay, and then we're gluing that to a bunch of periods. How many periods? It's going to be len of S minus n. So len of S is 4, and we're subtracting current value of n, which is 0. So 4 periods. So it's going to be boop, 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 boop. So H and then 4 periods. All right, and now that's what prints out down here. Okay, so things that print. First one is going to be H dot 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 dot. Oops, that was 5. Okay, and now we come back to the top of the loop, and n is going to become 1. And now, again, we're printing out some mysterious string here. So we're going to have 1 dot, so dot times n is 1, so 1 dot. And what else is going to be here? Now the index 1 character from S, which is going to be the I. So we have an I. And then more dots. So how many dots? It's going to be length of S, 4, minus current value of n is 1, so 3 more dots. So dot, dot, dot. Okay, so that's printing dot, I, dot, dot, dot. Okay, so hopefully you already kind of like see what's happening. We got H, then we got I, surrounded by dots. Okay, let's keep going. So next value of n is 2. And the next thing that's going to print out here, what we get for the string, so we're going to have 2 dots, dot, dot, index 2 character from S, which is the Y. And now more dots, so 4 minus 2 dots, so 2 more dots. Okay, so dot, dot, Y, dot, dot. All right, and let's see. So next value for n is going to be the last one, 3, because that's 1 less than the length of S. So that's what we said this range does, okay? So this will be the last one. So we're going to start off with 3 dots, current value of n, 3. And then we're going to have the index 3 character from S. So that's going to be the A. You see why this has to be the last time, because we can't go past A. And then over here, we're going to have 4 minus 3 dots, so 1 dot. And that is the last thing that we'll print out. 1, 2, 3, A dot. All right. So you see we just kind of printed out on a diagonal the letters in a little rectangle of dots. And that's what happens. As I got kind of carried away with like diagonal patterns. Okay, so that was this part.